Okay, j-fallon, how are you going? This is the slippery slope. So I've been waiting for June to finish because I wanted to see. Well, I couldn't work out. I thought it seems weird. This June seems a little different to all the Junes that have been happening for probably what the last maybe 5, 6, 7 years or something like that. It seemed like June was always just completely taken over by the LGBT movement, whatever it is. And every year you'd see the outrage come out from from one part of society, and then you would see all this just absolutely outlandish, outrageous behavior from the LGBT community, and everyone's it's like, how crazy can we be? How more outrageous, outlandish? How can we just put our behavior so far over to the weird side and just completely just I don't know, just turn people away is what I think it's done. The behavior for the people in that community, and I won't even, you can't even put everyone in together because it's like it's like you have the LGB people, and they kind of got, well, the ones that I knew, the ones who I remember seeing back when in Australia here we were voting on marriage equality and all this kind of thing. They kind of like, okay, yeah, we got what we wanted. It's all cool. Let's move on. And then you had all these other groups, other areas kind of joined in the march, and they kind of joined in, and everyone, you could see all the old school gays, let's put it that way, just kind of stepping back, going, oh, maybe this isn't everything that we were thinking about. You could see it's all going downhill. It's all going pear-shaped. It wasn't really quite going the path that they wanted. And you know what? This is where I think I've told this story before. It was back in about year 2000. I remember listening to someone talk, and they said, if this all goes ahead, this will take us down a slippery slope. It will allow this to happen, then it'll go to this, and then it'll go to that, and the next minute you've got groups coming out talking about being attracted to minors. And sure enough, that's where it's gone. Except I don't think anyone back in the early 2000s really thought that it would go as wild and loopy as what it is. But do you think it's just all caved in? It's gone so far out of the box. It's all just destroying itself. People within the community now look at it and go, this is this is even too weird for me. Seeing posts of what I'll refer to as, I suppose, I don't want this to be anyway, but like the old school gays kind of turning around saying, well, and the gays and lesbians turning around saying, well, this is kind of just it's a bit too weird. We just wanted to be able to, have our partners and do this kind of thing and live a normal life. And we've got all these other groups in there. Um, and half of them aren't even homosexual. They're just people who announce that they've got some weird title. Let's check this out.
My name is Diddy, and I'm non-binary. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm queer.
What a gift to be here for who we are, this queering of the church.
Happy Pride to everyone except for my 7 children who have all betrayed me by being straight.
Bringing your kid to a pride parade is like bringing your kid to Mardi Gras.
Pride 2025 is here, and the only thing coming out is corporate bankruptcy.
For freedom, we're not going anywhere, and Pride is not just going to be a celebration, it's also going to be a protest.
So what do you reckon? Has it just the LGBT movement just destroyed itself? I'm going to read this article here that came up. So, gay journalist Andrew Sullivan said Thursday that the LGBTQ movement, that's the problem. It got to the acronym, it got to too many, there were too many letters. Way too many. When it was just LGB, everyone's like, oh yeah. And then they added in the T. I think it was actually Obama. It was actually Obama that added the T. Take of that what you will. I think it was actually him that added it in. I think I read it was like 2009 or something. He made some announcement, and then he put in the transgender community apparently. And then since then, it all kind of went downhill for him. Everything went off track. Anyway, so the LGBT movement is losing ground in America because it became radicalized. In a New York Times guest essay, Sullivan marveled at how the gay rights movement traded a legacy of civil rights successes for radical ideas that are turning off modern day Americans. Like trying to rewrite the rules of biology and advocating for child transgender treatment, all the while demonizing Americans who aren't on board with those ideas. And take out Americans, put Australia. This is exactly what's happening in Australia too. Just your average Aussie was sitting there going, oh, yeah, okay, we could kind of understand. Even if you don't agree with it, you can go, well, yeah, okay, these people want to do whatever. And you're talking about, it was just a kind of a discussion about sin and not sin and, whether people actually believed in that kind of lifestyle, even if they believed in the Bible or didn't believe in the Bible. But then it went down this really, really weird route where people are like, well, no, I'm non-binary. And you're sitting there going, but that's just not a thing. That's just not even a thing. Oh, no, you can refer to me as my pronouns now. It just went weirder and weirder. So then people just can't even, you can't identify with it at all, just completely off track. So it keeps going and says, far from celebrating victory, defending the gains, staying vigilant, but winding down as a movement that had achieved its core objectives, including the end of HIV in the United States as an unstoppable plague, gays and lesbian rights groups did the opposite. Swayed by the broader liberal shift to the social justice left, they radicalized, he wrote. Look at their flag now, it's ridiculous. Sullivan detailed how the gay rights movement changed for the worse after winning most of the victories for gay, lesbian, and transgender civil rights in the past few decades. I would say it was only the gay and lesbian rights, civil rights. As soon as they brought on the transgender, whatever it is, that's when it started going down. So it says it became a new and radical gender revolution that he said focused on ending what activists saw as the oppression of the sex binary, which some critical gender and queer theorists associated with white supremacy. Absolute rubbish. This is the lunacy, and it doesn't make sense. So people can no longer, your average Joe could no longer identify with it because you start accusing people of, well, yeah, this is exactly the same as white supremacy. I don't think so. Anyway, so it's dissolving the natural distinctions between men and women in society and replacing biological sex with gender identity in the law and culture. So he also said modern LGBT activists redefined homosexuality not as a neutral fact of the human condition, but as a liberating ideological queerness meant to subvert and queer language, culture, and society in myriad different ways. Sullivan added that because of this shift, the words gay and lesbian in LGBT all but disappeared as it became LGBTQ, then LGBTQ plus, and more letters and characters kept being added. So you had the LGBTQ plus, and then then they went with 2S. I believe it was the Canadians that might have come up with the whole 2S thing, the two spirit, which, come on. Surely the light was going off in the minds of some people saying, maybe this is actually a spiritual battle. It is. The whole thing, the whole movement always is a spiritual battle. But surely when people were reading this anyway, so they moved on to the 2S LGBTQIA plus. The plus sign referred to a seemingly infinite number of new niche identities, and by some counts, more than 70 new genders. But the 70 new genders let's be honest, that is spiritually lying. You're lying to yourself. You're being lied to by, in my opinion, demonic forces. Sullivan continued saying the word queer was a way of summing up the new regime, a clear sign that this really was a different movement than the gay, lesbian, and transgender civil rights movement of the past. The author, though he said he welcomed some of the changes brought by this modern movement, said he simply didn't buy it. I didn't and don't believe that being a man or a woman has nothing to do with biology. My sexual orientation is based on a biological distinction between men and women. I'm attracted to the former and not to the latter. And now I was supposed to believe the differences didn't exist. This is, like I said, they were telling everyone that facts don't matter and that you can just believe anything. You can believe anything is possible. You can believe any kind of fiction, make it up in your mind, and then tell everyone that this is a fact, replacing fact with fiction and telling you the fiction was true. And people obviously can't go along with that kind of thinking. It's just impossible to really go along with. So he said, he called this development madness, writing, but abolishing the sex binary for the entire society. Obviously, sex, the binary of sex, it's it is a fact, and you can't rewrite it and then force everyone to change a fact and believe the fact, believe a fiction, believe a lie as if it is the truth. But it's not. But that's a whole other thing entirely. And madness, I believe, is what he said. What if I redefined what it is to be heterosexual and imposed it on straight people? They demanded the entire society change in a fundamental way so that the sex binary no longer counted. He said, noting how dissent with this principle was equated with bigotry. Remember, everyone heard it. I heard it so many times in different videos. You know, if you don't go along with what they're telling you about the binary, well, you are a bigot. So Sullivan said that the other major problem with this new version of the gay rights movement was the preoccupation with children's sexual orientations. Sullivan continued, but this illiberalism made a fateful strategic mistake in the gay rights movement. There had always been an unspoken golden rule: leave children out of it. We knew very well that any overreach could provoke the most ancient blood libel against us, that we groom and abuse kids. So what did the gender revolutionaries go and do? They focused almost entirely on children and minors. Remember that, was it the Philadelphia gay choir? I think it might have been one of those cities over there. Anyway, they had that song about coming for your children. And then they said, no, it's just satirical. It's just satire. We're not really coming for your children. But everyone's like, well, actually, it seems like you are, because your words, you come out and say, oh, we're not coming for your children. But then you sing a song saying, we are coming for your children, and all your actions seem like you're coming for your children. So when someone says, we're not doing this, but on the other side, they actually are doing that, their words and their actions don't line up, you've got to say, well, we actually think you are coming for our children. And this is what he's saying. This is where they went way downhill. Everything they were doing seemed like they were pushing for the children. You had what are they called? The drag queens, doing the reading to young children, doing almost stripper pole dancing stuff in front of young children, enticing them, encouraging young children to get involved with drag queen shows, TV shows, drag queen lifestyles. It's absolutely disgusting. But then they keep saying, well, no, we don't want your children, but your actions completely different to your words. So he detailed how gender ideology proponents taught kids that being a boy or a girl was something they could choose and change at will, which we all know is nonsense. He said allowed biological males to compete in female sports, and in some places allowed kids to socially transition at school without their parents' knowledge or permission. The author then mentioned the most radical of all, gender affirming care for minors, which can lead to irreversible sex changes for children. And here's the thing, we see so many of these young people now come out years later realizing what a horrific mistake they made when they were younger. And unfortunately, so much of it is irreversible. Listen, for one, I would genuinely thank God that Trump and all the people that are surrounding him were able to come in. It's one thing you talk about leadership and the necessity for good, strong, godly leadership. Now, I'm not for a moment saying that everything that Trump does is absolutely good and perfect, and obviously he's a extremely flawed individual, extremely flawed. However, it does seem like he is more open to well, you've got to look at the people that he's surrounded himself with, people who are very open about their Bible beliefs, their beliefs in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their beliefs in Christianity, their beliefs that hold to more traditional values. So he's surrounded himself with these kinds of people. So you think, okay, that's something very different. And then he himself has come out and seems to be a very big supporter of Christian values, of Christian ideology, okay, of the Judeo-Christian principles that the United States were founded upon. And you can see the necessity, how important it is to have strong leadership leading a nation, which is a problem I believe that we have in Australia. We have weak, feckless leadership. We have our Prime Minister. That's why he seems to stumble around and doesn't know what to say or do when it comes to the United States these days. And, you know, he's out there leading the gay parade in March here in Australia. This is why it is important to have strong leadership, leadership that understands between fact and fiction, and leadership that is that stands up for Christian values. I'm not for a moment, like I said, saying that Donald Trump is a Christian. I really don't know. I really hope that that he does go that way. Obviously, I would think it'd be much better off for himself and his family. But it is good to see because he has had such a good positive effect, in my opinion, for the United States of America. Unfortunately, Australia has not gone in the same direction because we've seemed to be so tied up in woke ideology, so accepting of it, even when it comes to the transitioning of children, so accepting of all these pseudo doctors that get out and tell us, no, no, this is good. This is actually, it's gender affirming care. And we Australians seem to just go along with things. As long as we're making money and we seem to be prospering, we'll believe the lies, unfortunately. But I do thank God for Trump and the people that he has surrounded himself with. We needed strong leadership in the world. We've seen LGBT movement basically eating itself, and I think it's actually been a good thing. It's been a good thing to see the world moving away from that woke ideology so far. Let's see how it goes. Just amazed me how we went through all of June, and just there was nothing. There was no big hoo-ha in the papers, no big hoo-ha in reporting about the gay movement, about June and everything that's happening. No big controversy because Target had the children's gay pride flag and all this rubbish going on. It's good to have just a normal June for once, and the rainbow being given back to where it belongs, where it came from. Hey, this is all my opinion. Please let me know what you think. Strong leadership is very important. That's my opinion. I'm j-fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope.
They just fuel the desire that will take me higher. I'm